This year is dedicated to Rachalea Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi. We're going to do Sefer Daniel. We left off at the very end of Perek Dalet. So as you remember, Nevuchadnetzar, because of his pride and his unwillingness to bring Hashem into his life on a personal level, was told by Daniel that he's going to lose everything that a person could lose from inside of himself. That he'll be like an animal. So again, whether he actually looked like an animal or didn't look like an animal isn't what's relevant. He certainly was like an animal. And indeed, the Meforshim are divided on this issue, with Rav Sadia Gaon and others maintaining that when it says he was an animal, it means inside only. This controversy follows in other directions as well. For instance, the question of whether a person could be reincarnated into an animal or not is a real question. And I'm sure everybody's heard many stories of someone being followed by a cat or a dog or whatever, and then saying, "I forgive you," and then suddenly the dog is no longer following them. Even so, many of the commentators on Zohar, including Zayat Ranan, who's a serious commentator, maintains, as we said here, that the idea of being incarnated into an animal would mean that a person is born with the huge challenge of having animalistic tendencies more than an ordinary person would have. That's their challenge in life, and their obstacle in the path of self-discovery. So he lived through this, and he had to face up to this, that nothing that he had done had caused any difference in the dream being fulfilled. The dream of this, that there are 4 kingdoms and that his kingdom will give way to another one, etc. And even though previously Daniel had put this off a bit by telling him to give tzedakah, knowing full well that this wouldn't change anything in the long run, but just benefiting the people who were there, it didn't change anything. Okay, so let's see what he said at the end of all of this. Okay, one moment. Okay, so we're starting at with Pasuk Kaf Daled. Okay, one moment. Excuse me, not Kaf Daled. We're starting with Kaf Zayin. Okay, let's just see where we are in the text here. Excuse me. Here we are. Anei Malka Vamar, Halodahi Babel Rabta, Diana Banaita, Levet Malchu, Betkif Chisne, Vlikar Hadari. The king says, okay, and he's answering Daniel, is this not Babel, the place of greatness that I've built for the house of my kingdom, and I've strengthened it, and I've made it respected? Is this not the case? Oh, Milta b'fur Malka, Kalman Shmai Nafalach, Amin Nevuchadnetzar Malka Malchusa Adat Minach. Okay, and as the words were coming from the king's mouth, there was a voice from heaven that told him that his kingship has gone away from him. Okay, so he now has to face up to this, that there's no escape, no matter what he does. And he has, at this point, no choice but to acknowledge it. Why? Because again, let's reiterate what his fate was. Okay, so this is what Daniel tells him about his turning into an animal, so to speak. Okay, Min Rasha Lar Tardin, you'll be driven away from men. Vimchevet Bara Midroch, and your dwelling place will be with the wild animals. Itbeta Ketarin Lach Yitamun, and you'll eat grass like the oxen. That's what you will taste. Usavan Idanin Yachlifu Alayach Aditin Dag Tishalat Ila B'Malchus Anasha. And this will take place over 7 seasons. They'll pass over you until you know that there's a higher king over all people. Umandi Yitzpei Yitznana, and he does what he wants. Bashaita Milsa Safat al Nevuchadnetzar Umin Anasha Tarid V'Yisavek Ketarin Yechal Mital Shamayim Gash Mitzpah Ad Desarek Nishre Rabba Utarfohi Kitziporin. So all of this befell him. Everything that Daniel said. Until what? Until the moment came when he no longer was like a person, and all of these things that we just said took place. Okay, he was driven away from people, he ate grass, he drank the dew of the heavens, okay, his hair grew long, his nails grew long. But one day, Nevuchadnezzar lifted his eyes to the heavens. Nitzleit minda alayatuv v'le'er bereche l'chaya alma shabchet v'hadvet tishaltane shaltan olam u'machasei am im dor v'dor. Okay, so he says this, and this is almost like a prayer if you pay attention to what the words actually are. Okay, so at the end of these 7 years, he was carried, and his mind came back to him, his knowledge came back to him.